You can hear me okay. I am still playing with, oh, yes, I think I'll close my, I like to use the other camera because I don't look as old in the other one. This one just like draws out all of the age in my face, which is neither here nor there, but it frustrates me. Let me see if this will help. It helps a little bit, but not too much. It's just the color in this camera is not as good as my other one, so it just is what it is, right? All right. 2 seconds. I'll be right back. All right, I'm heading back. Nobody usually sees the beginnings of these anyway, but good afternoon. I did remember to flip my phone this way this time. This is the way I prefer to do it. And they're always making me do it the other way because it's like, I think it's the whole TikTok thing. Everybody does vertical videos. And I'm like, nah. I'm just used to doing it this way. So, anyways. Okay, so I didn't get to share this last week because I had so many technical difficulties that this didn't happen. And so I'm going to try to do it this time. And I put it in the title, A Boy Called Christmas. That's not really, what did I put that? What I wanted to take from that, it was a movie that I saw, and I don't know if you've seen it, but there was something in the movie that really touched me. And then after that, it was, I wish that I could surprise myself, which is what brought about most of the content here that I have. And that reminds me, let me grab my other phone because there is something I want to read on here. I read it on the TikTok that I made earlier, but I didn't do it here, so it's, I don't know. You guys are probably gonna, as soon as I start saying the word union, a lot of people are gonna be going, is that all she ever talks about? Well, there's a reason why. It's my focus, and I had some really good confirmations of said circumstances. So let me go ahead and, okay. I found something on Facebook that just really resonated with me, so I brought it up so I could read it. Let's see here. What do we? Okay, we'll start with A Boy Called Christmas because this was something that happened. I really loved it, and it's going to come back around when we talk about living in this state of unconditional love and holding no judgments against anyone. This actually ties right into it. I didn't even think about it. This was something from last week, and it just ties right into what's happening this week. So that's very cool. I'm excited about that. I love it when things come together the way that they should. So in this movie, I watch Christmas movies. I love Christmas movies. I think they're fun. And this has become one of my favorites. I only started watching it, was it last year or the year before? Maybe the year before. But anyways, it's a wonderful story. I highly recommend you go and see it. But one thing really impressed me this year is the little boy who they called Christmas. He turns out to be, he is Nicholas. He's Saint Nick in the story, but as a little boy, he doesn't realize who he is. But he was left with his aunt, his father's sister, because his father went to go on a quest to try to, to do something to earn favor and money with the king, so that he could take better care of his son. They were very impoverished, and so he called his sister in to take care of the boy while he was away. And in the beginning, before the dad leaves, she's just super sweet and all genuine and interested in the boy's well-being. As soon as the dad's gone, she turned into the witch of the wickedest witch of the witch. Let's just put it that way. She was awful. And so he was, he tried to make it work. He was just, he tried to make the best of it. Make it short, he basically decided that he needed to go find his father, so he escaped her and went to find his father. She treated him horribly. I mean, you watch it and it's just like he already had so little. He was barely just staying warm. They didn't even have any food, and she did so many horrific things to him that he really had no other choice but to leave. So she was just, she was the epitome of something that you might experience that you couldn't forgive, okay? And what really touched me was at the end of the movie when he discovered that he was this special boy that was magical, and the magic was within him, and he was able to talk to animals, and he made children, he made the animals fly, the reindeer, and he was able to get a mouse to talk. He had all these magical properties, right? And once he realized who he was, and he basically saved the day, when he came back to deliver toys on his one reindeer, as the movie depicts, he stuffed his box with chocolates that came from the village of the elves where he was staying at, where he went to go find his father. He stuffed his pockets with these really delectable little chocolates, and when he flew over his old house where his aunt was still residing, he dropped a bunch of chocolates down to her from his pocket. And it just really impressed upon me that I want to have a box. I want to have my pockets full of chocolate. Because what really touched my heart was that even after everything that she did, and it was horrible, pointed things, she was rotten, right? He filled his pockets with chocolates for her. And it just really hit me that we need to be in a state of giving forward the energy of love that we are at all times, especially with those who are particularly difficult on our journeys. Of course, like all things, it turned out that by her pushing him out in such a way, by being so unbearable, he went on a very difficult and somewhat scary journey, but it led him on the path of where he was supposed to go, right? But I was just really touched by that. I want to be an individual who has pockets full of chocolate. And it has helped me since I've watched it this year, and it impressed me so. I've watched it before, but for some reason this year, that one scene really impressed me. Anytime someone's difficult in my life, it reminds me, I think of just having chocolate in my pockets. And it reminds me that I want to be the type of being that returns all energies that are sent to me with love. And I'm sorry, but, chocolate says love to me. I don't know about you, but that's the biggest love language there is. But I just thought that was really awesome. And then the other thing that I put in the title of this video was, I wish I could surprise myself. And what brought about what I'm about to share now was this journey that I'm on right now. I know a lot of you are probably in similar phases. I'm completely alone, for one thing. Like in my 3D world, it's just me. I have my job. I interact with people because of my work, but I literally spend probably 95% of my time just me, my own energy. And this has been a process that's been coming about this last year. And I just decided to embrace it and jump into it and actually really, really hone a focused love affair with self, focusing only on the inner queendom and the union that's within, and treating it like it would if you had met the love of your life in the outer, your soulmate, your dream person. Imagine meeting that person. Well, that's what I've been doing within myself, is living that in it's the realest way that I possibly can. So that's kind of where I'm at on my journey, and that's what I've been doing. It's been really wonderful. The level of joy that I am experiencing And I've had people actually ask me, did you meet somebody? You act like you just fallen in love. And I'm like, yeah, I am. And I did meet somebody. I met me. And not just me though. See, this is going to all come full circle, hopefully. This is something that has been, I just felt naturally to do this. I didn't get influenced by anyone in the outer to choose to do this. It's just what I wanted to do on my own journey and what felt, correct. Come to find out, it absolutely matches with what's going on in the cosmos, what's going on with us as a collective, in the light grid that is not incarnate on this earth, but it is, the one that we connect to. Light beings, angels, beloveds, ETs, whatever you want to call these beautiful ones that come and escort us and be with us on this journey that we have decided to sign up as earth beings. So, that being said, I've been doing really well, really wonderful. When you see that flashing light, that's trucks driving by on the highway. Crazy, it makes me nuts. But anyways, I've been just really taking in this holiday season, and I'm rethinking and rewriting my entire self. I call her Shannon 2.0. I'm going back to all the way back to all of my origins, down to the first time I can remember things, and making choices based on who I would be without the influences that I had in my childhood, which brought me right where I'm at, and I'm in a beautiful place. I wouldn't change a thing. But I would have chosen things differently if I had not had to go through all the phases of being a people pleaser and a codependent individual that was constantly looking for that connection in the outer. And all the while it was right here inside, just needing attendance. Of course, I've only recently come into that understanding and perception. So before that, it was just constantly on the chase in the outer. I made a lot of decisions based on what made other people happy. In childhood, I wasn't allowed to have my own feelings. They weren't validated. I was, like many of us, told to suck it up. It's not that big of a deal. You need to just calm down. You're overreacting. You're too much. You're too loud. All those things that we get programmed with as children. Now, mind you, I'm grateful for all of it. It's exactly written as it should be. But now that I'm rewriting Shannon 2.0, I am doing my best to get down to 0-point gravity within self, to find out what actually makes me happy. And I have stopped doing a lot of things that I've done my whole life. Art is one of them. Painting, sculpting, those things. Not that I still don't enjoy it, and I'm very talented at it, but I discovered through this process that I do most of those things I used to do it in abundance for the attention of others, to get that validation, because I'm a good artist. I'd produce really beautiful artwork and people would give me praise for it. And the biggest people that gave me praise for it was a mother who didn't see me as being adequate unless I was producing something that made her look good. So I decided to stop doing it, because the only reason why I was doing it was for that reason. Now, I might pick it back up again for myself, but at this point, no, I don't want anything to do with it, because it's not that. That's not what makes me happy. So I decided to take this holiday season, because I'll admit it, in the beginning I'm feeling a little bit sad because I'm so disconnected from all of the beloveds that I had connections in the past to. I'm sure many of you can resonate with this. Because I'm alone, and most of my closest, tightest connections have been separated. They haven't been lost, but they've been separated. So in that, I started to feel, and when I felt those feelings of feeling a little bit sad that I was all by myself at Christmas, and that, it's kind of like, those old egoic tapes were going like, what's the point? Why even, do any of this? Because I was always doing it for others. Well, immediately the self that's in charge right now stepped in and said, we're going to do it for us. All those things, why did you do it? Because you believed it to bring joy to other people. And why did you think it was going to bring joy to them? Because it would bring joy to you if someone did it for you. Wouldn't you want someone to do all those things for you? Well, yeah, I would. Then do it for you, as you. So I decided to just take this whole holiday season and treat it with all the fervor and the joy and the excitement that I did when I had all my children around me and I had husbands in the past and family members. I decided to go ahead and just treat it like the same energy, only just towards me. The two of us that are right here in this internal union that I am just cultivating and babying and coddling and growing and just immersing myself in. So that being said, it brought me to this one statement that I did put in the description of this video. I was just doing things for myself, and this is one of the things I'll show you real quick if I can get it turned around so you can actually see it. If I put it in the camera, you can see the little charms right there. This is my Advent calendar. I used to do an Advent calendar for my children, and I loved doing that for them. But it had a lot to do with what made me happy, and I did it for them because I wanted them to feel that joy as well. So I love having an Advent calendar, and it doesn't matter whether I have children here or not. I also have a calendar that counts down the days like I used to with my children because I really love getting up in the morning and erasing that little number and going backwards by one. It's always been really fun, and so I'm doing it for myself. Well, I was opening up my little charm bracelet, and see, it's a different charm every day, and it'll build an entire bracelet by the time Christmas gets here. It'll be filled with, 24 charms. Fun, fun, fun. And I thought to myself, well, it's kind of fun. I really like that because I was thinking about my Christmas stocking. And I used to love to do the stockings for my kids because they would never have any idea about what was going to be in there. And it would always be a surprise to them, like a surprise on top of the surprise of Christmas, because we'd have the big shebang for Christmas. We'd do breakfast. We'd open up all the presents. Santa would come, all the big, and they'd be so wiped out, exhausted from all the hoopla, they'd forget their stockings. And then they would remember, oh my gosh, we've got these stockings. And I would go to great detail in their stockings. And they would be filled so fat that I had to get, heavy implements to hold them on the mantle because they would fall off. And I thought it would be, I thought to myself, it would be so much fun if I could just pick someone to exchange stockings with. I'd even pay for it. I don't have a problem with that because the masculine energy in me is providing for me. But I want to be surprised by it. And I thought, and I got a little sad for a second, a little sadness. And I invited that sadness in. I made myself aware of it. And I said, what are you trying to tell me? What message do you have for me? And I thought for a minute, it was like all of a sudden I had this thought. I'm like, gosh, it sure would be nice in this circumstance right now to be able to surprise myself. And then it hit. Origin. Source, conscious, creative, one power. The I am that we all are. This origin that we all are. The one. Had that thought at some point. And it just dawned on me, because I'm totally immersed in the origin state of being, this oneness that's within me that I actually see as two because of the polarities, and we're in a duality. So it just makes sense for me to engage this earth story, but I just think of it as the two. Mad love affair between the masculine, feminine energy within, the polarities. And so I see it as two, not one, but I understand that it is the first division of the one. And when I had that thought, I thought to myself, that makes sense, that really resonated with me. Is this something even closely, remotely similar to what thought origin had in the beginning of this entire duality that we're all co-creating together? How much more fun it would be to be able to surprise myself. And it just hit me that is the beginning of all things. Is this, because that's kind of what I've brought myself down to as a ground zero of just focusing on origin and that very first separation for the expression. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read this to you because I found it on Facebook and it just made so much sense. Unlock my phone real quick. And it just resonated with everything that I'm sharing with you even right now. And it confirmed it for me because this is something that somebody posted, and it's a perfect description, and I have a difficult time sometimes describing what's going on in my heart. We are experiencing an upgrade. As we begin to practice unconditional love and non-judgment, something happens to our personal energetic space. Remember the chocolates in the pocket. It's that unconditional love that regardless of what's handed to us, we always return with the gift of love. Our pockets are full. That person helped us along the way anyway. It always works out that everything happens for us, not to us. As we begin to practice unconditional love and non-judgment, something happens to our personal energetic space. The frequency that we emit from our body becomes a very attractive frequency to those unseen forces that in turn activate unused portions of our DNA. Now this is very, very honed down into what's happening in a physical sense of our 3D, 4D, 5D Earth story, the thing that's happening in this story itself. Activation requires support from our central nervous system as we break down and build up the old waste placed in our DNA makeup. This is why we might be feeling a little bit odd in the time frame that we're in. And I don't know about you, but the frequencies that are being produced and held up and that we're experiencing right now, I feel odd most of the time. You know, this lighting on my face is kind of scary, looking like I'm telling a scary story from my phone. Eons ago, now this just talks about the fall, the descent. We're ascending, it's talking about the descension, and I love the way it describes it. It isn't the only description, but it is a very closely related one to my heart and how it sees and feels and experiences this. Eons ago, our DNA took the plunge into limitation and darkness, that separation that gave us the ability to experience, to surprise ourselves. Limitation and darkness as the planet itself was undergoing a baptism of sorts into a cordoned off portion of the galaxy. This place is likened to a skater on thin ice that falls through that thin ice and falls into the deep, cold depths below. Now, we started out with a benevolent, beautiful circumstance where we just wanted to separate enough to be able to surprise ourselves, to be able to engage ourselves. But that plunge took itself all the way through the pendulum swing, all the way until the depths below. Our star, the sun, took a turn on the dance floor with another partner and entered into a trinary relationship with a dark star, leaving its primary partner to fade in the farthest reaches of its elliptical relationship, that depth that it was talking about. Sort of like when a spouse watches while its mate has a dalliance with another. During this dance of futility, our gravitational field was pulled into a toxic relationship that offered us power fueled by the dark energy of the little ego mind. Now, I would like to put in here right now that this is getting very tangible. It's describing this in a very earthly, tangible way, what happened in the cosmos, what happened ethereally, what happened in the ultimate. It doesn't mean that it's the only description, but it's a really good, tangible description that we can relate to and get our hands on. A necessary requirement, and the beautiful solar system became an unappreciated lover in a futile dance of duality and dark ages. A necessary requirement for our completion, education, and experience. Until when the host of the planet, the human race, that's us, we're the hosts of the planet, began to remember and open up to its first love. That's the key in this. First love. The whole system is able to exit the gravitational pull from the little egocentric nature and began to trek to find its long-lost first love. And its energy is attractive only to its first love. So once again, that is bringing us back to that state of origin again. The first love, the origin, the original separation. Time is speeding up as the gravitational pull increases, and this beautiful bride is adjusting her course for her beloved. As she moves, her lamps are lit to guide her. Activation of the pineal gland in the centers in the brain. And she is becoming holy again as the DNA rebuilds and prepares for her return. Okay, and this brings into, this also brings into play the whole getting back to origin union. And this is something that has been very precious to my heart, close to my heart, for a very, very long time, as many of you who have listened to any of the words I say know. I've been talking about union. It started way long ago, being very connected and immersed in the story between Yeshua and Mary, who I believe represented energetically and ethereally the energy needed to move us through this process that we're in right now. I think that whole story had its face value, and it's become many things to many people, but energetically it was for one reason, and that was to lay the map, the energetic map and the groundwork for this now moment, which is the time of union. Now, I started out on my journey with this being about a physical union. Like I told you before, I was very much in the outer, like all of us, in the outer, looking to fill the inner with the circumstances in the outer. So I was looking for that union. I was looking for that love because I sensed it very deeply. I was utterly madly in love with Yeshua, utterly madly in love with that whole paradigm, that archetype, if you will. And so I was in the outer. So in the beginning, I did talk about things like twin flames and union, and how, finding that significant other that you're drawn to is the key. I did start with that, and I talked about that for quite a while and expressed how important this union was. And in the moment I was in a union with someone, and I believed it to be that union because of how profoundly overwhelming this is a part of my heart. I didn't have the perception that I have now, or the understanding that I have now, which I have it and then it's gone, because once you think you know something, you know nothing. But in this now moment, I can perceive that circumstance with much more clarity and understand that this is so much bigger than what will manifest in the outer, and it will. This is how this works. It's total focus on what? Seek first what? I've said it a million times. The kingdom, the queendom within. Your journey is an inward journey. The only way out of it is through it, into it. So we're in this circumstance where, once again, I thought that my trajectory was going to change. I asked a lot of now what questions, which I'm sure you have too, after going through all of this that we've gone through. The divorce of the world, the killing of the ego, which has turned out to be nothing dies. I don't have any death required for my ego or anything at this point anymore. But the dying to the world, the letting go of the earth systems, letting go of everything that we were connected to. I mean, I know you know what I'm talking about. After going through all that and then coming up for air and feeling a very strong urgency to re-interact into the earth story, I've asked a lot of now what questions. And I really did believe that in this rewriting of Shannon, the 2.0, I did believe that I was going, that first archetype, that first connection to the frequency of Yeshua, Mary, Isis, Horus, all the stories between these polarities have kind of connected themselves together energetically for me. I believed that I was going to have something different, and I did. I let go of all of it and said, that's fine. That's what served me to get me here. And now what is my purpose? What is my mission? What is my story? Gosh darn it, if I'm still just not right there, all over me, union. And I'm like, I can't shake it. It's the only thing that it just passionately drives me. Hello, Miss Denise, good to see you. It's passionately driving me, and so I know that because it's driven by passion and desire, and it's what makes the hair stand up on the back of my neck, it's what drives me forward, that there was still something here, but I really didn't know what it was, because it couldn't possibly be what it was before, because I had graduated, into that, through it, and out of it, so to speak, in that outer focus. So I just decided that I would work on this love affair, and only this love affair, and actually taking it to the degree where I have found the love of my life. That's what it feels like. And the cool thing about it is I didn't find anybody. This beautiful energy, this beautiful love affair, this beautiful origin of oneness has always been right here. Because literally everything's in here. Everything. Sacred union. Now the human union is an important part of this. I'm not negating that, because it will ultimately manifest into that. Because that's how everything got here in the first place. I believe that Yeshua and Mary energetically represented this time that we're in right now. This very moment that we're in right now. And I just wrote this down, just looking at my notes. I can love myself very deeply, and I've had such a profound experience with this, guys. I can't even tell you how it's transformed everything energetically in my life. The way my life looks right now compared to the way that it did when I began this journey in this little town 3 years ago, crazy different. It is so abundant. It is so amazing. And literally, if you were to look at my life, you would say that, yeah, maybe there was some material abundance. There's a bit of that. But you wouldn't think that you would, most people would look at me and say, well, I don't see the abundance. It hasn't, the outside hasn't caught up with the inner yet. That's all that it is, because I can tell you right now, this has completely transformed everything. It's just, I can't explain it. I can't put it into words. But anyways, So I said, I can love myself deeply, yet I cannot surprise myself. And this is something that brought me into this discussion I'm having with you right now, is that thought, and then immediately it was connected to origin again. I'm always redirected into that origin space of that original moment when Prime Creator, Source Consciousness, the one that we all are aspects and fractals of, beautiful facets of that one stone that is creative principle, that is consciousness, had the thought, I can't surprise myself. I would like to surprise myself. What would it feel like to experience myself? And that's exactly where it all started, and that's my focus. I've simmered this right down to one thing, very simple, and all I focus on is the two. Now, I don't just focus on the one because this story is brought about by that original, separated just enough to experience each other's energy. So I only focus on that, and I literally brought all my focus down to that. I don't think about anything else. I think about the love affair that's within me that represents that original union, that original moment when Source Creator thought, what would it be like to experience myself? And that expansion began, and they call it the Big Bang Theory. There's lots of different things, but the moment that happened, I believe that was the most explosive, expansive, amazing moment, and it just went from there, and that's what we're doing. That's where we're here. Okay, I'm just looking at my notes. Yeah, creative principle wanted to desire to know what it was like to experience self. But one thing that's really, this ties it all in. There is nothing that this doesn't answer. There isn't one circumstance on there. And like I said in my TikTok, you can go all the way from one end to the other. You can be so dead asleep, so unconscious, that you're so steeped into this 3D earth story that you don't even know you have a spirit. All the way to the other end of being hyper, super spiritual, into all the spiritual trends, you know, wearing your beads and your crystals on the beach, chanting mantras, playing your sound bowls, doing your tarot. I mean, it doesn't matter. Or just being a basic human being that doesn't really even know where they're at on either end. Every single story, every single expression, every little thing that is comprising itself at this moment could never happen, would never happen, if Principal Prime Creator, Source Consciousness, didn't have that thought that said, what would it be like to experience self? Separated just enough to have that experience, just enough. Not so much that there was any real division there, just enough to have that experience. And just like that write-up that I read to you, that's why I loved it so much. It gives a beautiful earthly picture of what happened in the cosmos when that occurred. That original separation probably lasted for eons in perfection. There was so much bliss in it, I can feel it. That's the thing that I'm feeling. That's what I'm experiencing by diving inward into this place and staying there and only celebrating it and only loving it. And just, there's nothing else that exists for me right now than this right here. I know that I have touched something that is close enough to get me, Earth Character Shannon, excited to what that moment was like, and I believe it lasted for eons perfectly. And as I said that, it was 33 minutes and 33 seconds on the live clock. I love that. I just looked at it and there it was. That moment of that first pristine separation, just enough to experience self, connected enough to know exactly full well what we're doing, but basically energy separated and kind of put blinders on each other so that they could surprise each other, so that they could express love one to the other, as opposed to just being it, getting to express it back and forth. That's the essence of everything. It doesn't matter what you're doing. It doesn't matter if what I'm saying to you seems like a bunch of bull duty to you. If you think I'm crazy, if you think that your spiritual perspective is higher than mine or more in touch than mine because of the way that I do things versus the way that you do, if you think I'm bang on, if you don't even know me, it doesn't matter. Because those cabinets right up there, I'm going to get my finger right, the cabinets that are up there, the light that's behind my head, this camera, me sharing my energy with you, you going to the grocery store, babies being born, businesses being built, wars being spoke of, all the things, all of them, every single expression, even outside of our universe, outside of our galaxies, wouldn't be occurring without that original thought of what would it be like to experience self. And I didn't do this like because something told me to do it, or there was some kind of influencer or some kind of cosmic thing that I read, or any. I just knew that inside of me this is the journey I needed to go on, and so I just went in. And the more I go on it, the vortex that it is, this swirling beautiful energy within just sucks me in deeper and deeper. And the more deeply I fall in love with this, the more deeply I focus only on it, the more profound the outer begins to feel. And it hasn't caught up yet. I'm still not seeing anything in the outer that would say that there's a mad love affair going on here. But I can tell you that there is. And that's why I wanted to share this week. I didn't get to last week because I had technical issues. And you know what? I finally just said it's not supposed to happen. I'm not going to push it. So anyways, that's a really big key to ponder. And I'm just think about it. Literally. Everything. You could put anything you wanted to in the comments right now. I mean, there's a whole one of you watching. I've got one little person and one thumbs up, which is the most pathetic response in the world, and it just makes me just filled with joy. Because the reason I'm doing this has nothing to do with that. It has to do with an etheric expression. It was the same thing with Yeshua showing up and adding Mary to his circumstance and them coming together. They never were concerned for a moment about what people thought, how many people gathered. None of that. They knew energetically what they were doing had to do with ultimate union, because they both had perception of this. And they had the manifestation of it in the outer, and it was beautiful and wonderful. And I can just tell you that I just know that. I just know it. So I wanted to share that with you because it literally answers everything. There isn't one thing that doesn't fit on the table of that divine story. Everything fits there, and it's such a beautiful energy to be in because there's nothing. I don't move anymore. I don't walk away from things. I don't omit people from my life. I don't look at their energy and say, that doesn't serve me anymore. You can, I'm going to just walk away from you because I don't need that energy in my. I don't do any of those things anymore. There's no need because of this profound self-love that I have. I set healthy boundaries without even trying, because no one will ever be allowed to not love me with the profound incredibleness that I love myself and that I'm learning and remembering to every day. And I add more skills every day. I add more beauty and depth and wonder and incredibleness to it. And more people disappear. More and more of it looking like a vast wasteland of desert when it comes to actual physical contact with other humans on a deep and profound level. And for a while that was really bothersome for me, and it might do it again. I might end up in that place again. It just was very energetically difficult for me. Very energetically difficult for me to process that, because I could feel what was happening within the truth of the eternal internal queendom, and the outside just wasn't matching up. Now I did I put some notes from that? I was having a meditation today, and I got some information from it's the observer activist position, and that's probably what I'm going to talk about next week, is what that means. What does that mean when we are able to reach into our, you could call it fifth dimensional self, that people put numbers and labels on it and that sort of thing. I don't look at things as like, dimensions and time shifting, or I don't see them that way. Like I said, I'm only focused on this love affair. What I see is that energetically, everything is constantly moving and transforming. It's constantly in a state of flux. It's always expanding. It's always becoming something new every now and moment. And I don't call it anything. But what we can call it for relatability is if you're operating in that unconditional, non-judgmental, fifth dimensional love energy, and you're in that space within your own heart, totally forgot where I was going with thought. I can't remember where I was going with it. Doesn't matter, because if it was important, it will come back. So, let me look at my notes and see if there's anything profound. don't think so. It's getting harder to see in here now because it's getting darker outside. But what is it? Yeah, it's like what? It's like 5 o'clock and it's already getting dark. Okay. Yes, and this is the focus that is written in my heart, is to hold the focus. This is my point. My focus is to hold my attention and my perception and the point of light, to hold focus on the sacred union, the one. And then it says read the Facebook post again, and I won't, but I thought it was a possibility, but no. So sacred union, holiness, WHOL-E, holiness. The sacred union within of that masculine feminine energy. You can call it white and black, like in the yin and yang. You can call it negative and positive. You can call it left and right. You can call it whatever you want to call it. It's polarity that naturally draws to itself. So perceiving this within self, within, not perceiving, that's what I was going to say about the outer, not matching up with what's in the inner. These are very close to that becoming. It's going to change really fast. I think in this coming year, we're going to be seeing things changing much swifter than we have. When you perceive that within self, when you bury yourself into that union within, where you provide all the love for yourself because you are that love, being the activist and the observer. Observer means in that ethereal realm, understanding that you are that one, that you're not just giving love, you are love. You are in that space of observer mode where you can look at your earth character and you can watch the things that she or he walks in and out of, and you can observe them, step back from them and observe them. And then there's the activist, and that is the earth character that is now to activate it in this earth plane, as above, so below. As we connect those things, this perception of that self within this human body puts out a beacon of healing over the whole planet. And it is all you have to do. And it isn't even doing, it's a being, it's not doing. Just simply be. I literally do very little anymore. I do the bare minimum of what it takes to care for myself. Because that's part of your story. We have to do that. That's what we signed up to do. But my focus is not doing anymore. It's about being this, that we are. In both, and we'll talk about this next week. What do you do with this idea that you finally have such a perception of self that it doesn't match what's here? That doesn't match what we're walking through every day. That's the whole point why we're doing it. That's why we're having this remembrance. And we'll talk about this next week. And that's what we do with that fifth dimensional, unconditional, non-judgmental love. We receive all of our intentions and our desires and our thoughts and the things that seem to be appropriate with that kind of love. We receive those messages by being in that love and that observer ethereal mode. And then you take that information and you become the earth activist and you activate it in your everyday life. And then the earth story will come back at you with that ugliness, with that nastiness, with that reverse masculine and reverse feminine energy that is still all cattywampus. It will come back to you with that, and what you do is remember that your pockets are full of chocolate. Always fill your pockets with chocolate when you're in that divine space, when you're meditating, when you're going within, when you're taking that deep breath and bringing yourself into that center point. Fill your pockets with chocolate. And when that individual comes into your auric field, spewing forth all the projections of the discordant energies that are still needing that from all the beloveds that are aware of it, you give them those chocolates that you filled your pockets with. Even if they've done the most horrible thing by your perception, even if they've broken your heart. And I've just recently, it was not that recent, it was actually next month, it will be a year ago. But, oh, that was interesting. Whoa. I don't know if that filmed or not, but I saw a very interesting anomaly right over here. I've been seeing lots of visual and hearing lots of audible anomalies that just made me go, what's that about? I'll tell you one little one at the end here, and it's quite interesting. I don't know if anybody else has experienced this, but I've been experiencing it a lot, and I keep thinking, what the heck, whose phone is that? Has somebody got, But anyways, I'm going goldfish brain on you here. Let me stick to the topic. When you perceive that information and you bring it into your daily activity, just your perception of it is healing the world. Did you see it? Cool, that's awesome. So it's not just me. And a lot of these things, I think if someone was here with me, they would be experiencing them too. But one thing that I'm hearing, and I'm not hearing it, if you know what I mean. You know how you can hear yourself talk inside your head and in your heart? You actually hear words. Like you can stop right now and you can say a statement to yourself like, the cat says meow, only say it in your inner head voice. You see how you can hear that, but there's really no sound? That's kind of the arena that it's in, but it sounds like music. Like little tinkly fairy bell, sweet, beautiful. I don't know, it feels wonderful when I hear it, and I'm looking around and it's so faint. But it's there, and it's been happening lots. And I search around and I'm like, it's just something, and I firmly believe that it is the frequency that this human body is picking it up in the human way that it does, but it's a frequency of this beautiful unconditional love, this beautiful, and I don't even like to say the word unconditional anymore, because this is just love. There is no condition or unconditioned to it. It is just its purest form, and that is that ethereal, observer space that we get to bring in to this human experience as the activist. And it's a balance between both and we'll go back to that over and over again too. It's another thing I've been saying for what, 3-4 years? Both and, everything is both and, everything. And it is in that connection to the both and that we are healing this whole story to bring about something that is going to be beautiful and far more balanced. And it is actually brand new. We're not really remembering things. We're just, it's actually not brand new, that's what I meant. We're remembering things. This feels brand new because we've fallen so far under that thin ice into the depths of that water. It's so cold, it's been so cold, and we've lost complete connection with any light from the surface, but now we're drawing back into that, and we're getting warm, and we're seeing the light, and we are simply returning to a status that's always been ours anyway. The illusionary separation, just enough to express one to each other, has just gotten too far. We believed it too much. We fell in love with that story so much that it just kept going. The expansion pulled us with it. And just like that thing that I read, that said it so well. And now what's happening is the Earth, the ambassadors of Earth, us, the human race, the ones that signed up to do this, by standing in the midst of the pig shit and saying there is no pig shit, I smell beauty, I see beauty, and I will be beauty. By doing that, we are attracting that first love back to self. And I just saw a comment, but I didn't get to read it. There we go, okay. All the facets of the crystal dessert dish. Yes, so anyways, so I just wanted to share that with you because it just simplifies everything for me. I take all of my energy every day and I pour it into the love of self, because I know that the love of this self is loving you, and you just can't even know how much I love you. I can't express it, but I know this because I can't express it to this self over here. And I know that when I'm doing that, you are me and I am you. There's never been a separation. Every single one of you is a fractal of that too. If you're an incarnate man, then you are a fractal of my significant other, my just incredible love affair. If you are incarnate as a feminine and that's what you relate to and that's the energy that you find yourself in, then you are a part of the divine feminine that's within me, and you are part of that. You are that. And so by loving these two within myself the way that I do, allowing them to love one another, they're in this mad love affair, and I just get to take part in it. And I resonate as a female in this incarnation. I'm all woman, I'm all girl, it's all there. That's what I resonate. I am totally Mary energy, hence the name of the channel. So my focus is on me being in my divine feminine and allowing myself to receive masculine. but it's from my own masculine that's within myself, because we all have this. So I actually am kind of stationary in myself, the self that I'm most resonant with, while this energy that I know exists because I love him so much. I've always loved him so much. I just looked around in the outer form, and this entire time that energy was right here the whole time. So I allow myself to receive from that energy. And in doing that, I am loving each and every one of you to the highest capacity that I possibly could. And you know, the really cool thing is that all sounds ethereal and woo-woo and like, yeah, you love me, but who's going to pay my light bill next month? I mean, I know it sounds all woofy, but the truth of it is now that I am internally doing this, everyone who crosses my auric field that's in my immediate surroundings, it's second nature to love them with that same expansion that I'm loving this beautiful self with. I don't even think about it. I pour that love onto them just like I do for myself. It's not even a thought anymore. That's the beautiful part about it. So anybody that does get into your auric field, you will spill that upon them naturally and organically. And that's another thing too. I'm going to write that down in my notes too, because we're going to look into that a little bit. Let's see. The auric field, which means your direct surroundings in the earth game, versus social media, which is not the auric field. It's not the immediate. So we're going to talk about that next week. And then the other thing is the observer activist. I'm going to write this down because I know things will come to me this week. And how we do that. How do we do this? How do we do the both and? How do we do the earth story and also be our divine selves? So that's what I will talk about next week, with whatever comes to me. And I know just by writing it down like that, I'm just going to probably receive all kinds of cool things. So anyways, so there's that. And I love you so much, and I'm so grateful for this ability. Now, I will still continue to do this, but I have reduced all of my interactions through electronic means to the point where it's very little, if any at all, and I'm going to actually reduce it even more. I will still utilize YouTube and TikTok as a kind of a flow over from what's happening in my immediate auric field, but 2024 for me is about bringing all that energy, everything that has served us beautifully. I wouldn't even know any of you beautiful people. I wouldn't even have the access to you that I do if it wasn't for social media. I think it served us beautifully and well. But I myself, in my own story, am feeling a calling to bringing that right down to boots on the ground in my immediate 20-foot, 100-foot auric field around me. And those connections are going to come into that physical, tangible right in front of me. And not, because I'm still very habitually reaching out electronically, because that's kind of been where my family and my connection's been over the last 3 or 4 years. A lot of us, most of the globe feels this way. Thanks to the beautiful, wonderful idea that somebody, in wherever they were at, decided to quarantine the whole planet, and thought it was going to be a destructive force, and it turned out that we all had to sit still for a couple of years and just be with ourselves, and it did beautiful and wonderful things. But social media gave us the ability to still connect, even though we were isolated. But it is my heart saying that it no longer serves. That is not the basis for the future moving forward. It's the actual physical, tangible connection of the grid of people around you. And as you connect to them, and then they move into their outer circles and connect to them, we're just going to start to build this beautiful community on this planet. But it's not going to be so through social media. So we'll talk about that next week. There's a lot there, and there's a lot of pull to keep us in that space. Because what was beautiful and served us now doesn't serve us anymore, but it will, the little egoic, centered force that is still here will keep people there if it can, because now it's time for us to actually do the scary thing and be really naked and really vulnerable and tangibly open in front of each other in the skin at a dinner table while we're actually rubbing elbows with each other. And we're fully protected in it. I guarantee you that it's not going to be like it was. I guarantee it. I can guarantee it because I've experienced it myself. We're safe. We've brought ourselves to such a level that it is not going to occur the way that it did before. And I am also, that's another thing too, I'm going to bring that up next week too, because it's something I really want to share and get people's feedback from too. Leave comments. If you've watched this after the live goes off, leave comments if you have anything, because I love your comments. They give me all kinds of beautiful boosts in my own life. So we'll talk about this too, and maybe it'll be too much, those 3 topics, but I'm sorry, but I've witnessed it, and I'm not gonna cut corners when I say it, and I will say, as human Shannon, I am effing tired of seeing it. So tired of it. Everybody's so screwed up scared. Everybody's just still sitting in their little corners. And they reach out just a little bit with one little finger of intimacy and connection and vulnerability, and then something snaps and they jump back in their corner and just, nope, I'm cutting off. It doesn't serve me. That energy, just this whole, it's this sense, everybody's scared. They're just freaking scared. And the reason why I know that is because I'm not. And even when I feel that emotion, which I do, like everyone else, I pull my divinity into it and I move forward, because I know with everything in my heart that I'm safe. And that vulnerability is actually the new superpower. But I'm not finding anybody who wants to play in the sandbox with me. Not in the tangible. It's really dry in the desert. My throat gets dry really fast. We haven't had any rain for a while. We really need it. And so I'm going to talk about that too, because I'm just going to energetically start pulling the clouds from the ether that are over the people that are feeling this, because it is so not time to be scared anymore, my loves. And I'll jump out first. I have no problem with that. And I am jumping out. That's what I'm doing. So I love you very much. Have a beautiful night. And I will come at you on my next day off, next week on Wednesday, providing that technology and everything allows me to do so. And if not, it's just because it wasn't meant to be. So that's it, and I love you, and happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. I hope you had a great Thanksgiving. I'm just loving this holiday season. I'm doing the whole earth thing because I've been divorced from it for a long time. I had to remove myself from all these things, but you know what? I really love Christmas. It makes me giggle. It makes me happy. I get up in the morning and I can't wait to go open up my next charm and see what it is. My bracelet is getting bigger and bigger, and it just makes me so happy. I'm just giddy and silly, and I'm going to find a way to surprise myself with presents. I have a couple of ideas, so I'm going to find a way to do that, but yet provide that for myself. So anyways, I'm right at an hour, which is right where I want it to be, and I'm grateful to be able to end my day off like this. I just feel so blessed to have what I have in my experience. So blessed and so thrilled to be connecting to anybody's energy in this story. I love you. Have a beautiful night, and I will see you next week.